Texas is pretty awesome. And Texas has a great governor. Texas has a governor who is a friend of the site, who is a guy who understands that the federal government can't do it all, who understands that when the government gets big enough to give you everything, it is big enough to take it all away. Is a guy who understands that letting people pursue their own destiny, letting people live their own lives, is the way that government should operate. He understands, contrary to many in Washington, D.C., that government is of the people and for the people and by the people. He's a guy who just gets it and so often gets it right. I am very proud and pleased to call him a friend. And today, he's been such a friend of ours. We have a surprise for him after he speaks he doesn't know about. There's something missing in the room today, and the surprise will explain why it's missing. Those of you who have been here for a while, for a number of RedState gatherings, will be able to figure it out. I will shut up now because I want to introduce a friend, a good Christian man, a man who loves his state and loves his country, a man who, while the president is on a golf course, is leading the nation at the border, a man who is committed to getting government out of the way so the people of this country can lead their lives. It is my profound pleasure and honor to introduce to you, again at the RedState gathering, the governor of the great state of Texas, Rick Perry.
Welcome to Fort Worth, where the West begins. And more importantly, welcome to the largest red state in America, to Texas. Our strength as a nation has always been determined by the strength of our people, to know the difference between right and wrong, to speak out when things need to change. When a tyrannical king in this distant land who was power hungry and oppressive, when we were faced with that, we rebelled against it, and it was a good thing. When the Texians suffered under this very oppressive injustice from a faraway ruler, well, we rebelled against it, and it was a good thing. Thomas Jefferson was right when he said, "A little rebellion now and then is a good thing." And now, faced with another power-hungry, oppressive ruler in a faraway place, it's time for us to start a little rebellion. You know, this war that we will fight will be on the battlefield of ideas. Now, we're going to show up. We're going to show up with common sense. We're going to show up with conservative ideas. We're going to show up with constitutional ideas. We're fighting against illogical, disproven, economically unsustainable ideas. Our founders gave us the means of which to fight this fight. It's called the Constitution. And in particular, they gave us the 10th Amendment to the Constitution. You don't need to be a constitutional law professor to know that one. That's the one where the individual states and the individual people within those states get to decide what's best for those people in those states, rather than some far off, out of touch central government. Yeah. You see, the founders knew. The founders knew that the government closest to the people was best, that our republic, for it to remain strong, to be powerful, we had to allow for the states to innovate, to experiment, to learn the best way to serve their people. The states have gained tremendous knowledge from those experiments through the years, and some very important ones are being learned right now, particularly in the economic realm. Now, you all know I brag a lot about Texas. That's kind of been part of my job description for the course of the last 13 plus years. But frankly, we have a lot to be proud of. Since I became governor, Texas has created 35% of all the private sector new jobs in this country. Think about that for just a moment. Even though we are home to only 1 out of 12 citizens in this country, over 1/3 of all the jobs created since I've been governor have been in this state. That's a powerful, powerful visual. We did it by keeping our taxes low, our regulatory climate fair and predictable, our legal system from allowing oversuing. We demanded accountability in our public schools, and we allowed for innovation to occur across this state. In other words, by using common sense, conservative, red state principles. That's what we did. And it was our common sense approach that it has delivered time after time over this 10-year plus period of time. And it's the reason that employment in Texas has grown almost 3 times faster than any of the other large states. For 12 straight years, we have led the nation in exports. And as of January, we led the nation in high-tech exports, surpassing California and the home of that famous Silicon Valley. More people are moving to Texas than any other state. They're voting with their feet. They are coming to a place where they want to live and raise a family and have a business. One of the reasons Texas has been so successful is because we are one of the few states that has consistently enacted red state policies. In fact, since 1998, we have done something that no other state has achieved. Every single statewide office has been won by a Republican. We've built this enduring majority. But more importantly, it's our common sense that has been on display. It's been this conservative red state policies that have blazed this clear trail for every other like-minded state. We've been an example, if you will. While leading the country in job creation, we've also managed to lower our nitrogen oxide levels by 62%, our ozone levels by 23%, significantly better than the national average. Once again, proof that states know what's best for states. But all right, enough about Texas, okay? The answer to a better future in this country lies in the states. Take the good ideas from one state, implement them in another, see what will work for you. Jerry, ideas like how to reduce crime. Well, okay. Since I brought that up, one more thing about Texas, okay? All right. Because of a simple change we made in the way that we handled first-time nonviolent drug offenses, Texas crime rate has dropped to its lowest level since 1968. And for the first time in modern history, we are not building new prisons, we're shutting them down. That's the result of that type of policy. No one should be confused about whether Texas is tough on crime. We are. But we're getting smart about crime as well, saving taxpayers money. All right, really, enough about Texas, okay? We're not the only red state that has lessons to share. Many other governors and legislators are working in that arena as well, putting conservative principles into place, and I might add with impressive results. Rick Scott in Florida, look at what he's done. He has put good conservative policies into place there, and for every month over the last 3 years, their unemployment rate has gone down. Look at what Terry Branstad has done in Iowa. There are more citizens of Iowa working than in the history of that state. Take a look at what Nikki Haley is doing in South Carolina. She's moved thousands of people from the dependence of welfare to the independence of work. Conservative governors who cut taxes, who control spending, who trust the people more than the machinery of government, who know that freedom of the individual must come before power of the state. Quite simply, red state policies work. You know it. I know it. It is common sense. Now, with that said, no matter how successful our conservative red state policies are, we are still faced with the burdens being placed on us by this administration, which remains oblivious to the obvious. What could be more obvious than getting out of the way of building the Keystone Pipeline? You think about that. Thousands of new jobs. It's a significant step towards energy independence. There are countless economic benefits that would come from that to happen, but it's been stopped dead in its tracks. Dead in its tracks by the lack of vision. And I might add, the political stubbornness of the White House. No matter how hard we work, no matter how much we prove our strategies work, we can't overcome the increasing incursions on our freedoms and liberties by this current administration. History has taught us over and over again that yielding too much power to centralized government doesn't work. It never has, it never will, and that's why we've got to fight every day for the principles that we know work. With every breath that we take, we've got to fight to make sure that our principles are the ones that are being implemented. And you think about it, our founders knew that lesson all too well. That's why our Constitution specifically prohibits federal control over the states in all but a very few enumerated areas. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that Washington should control our classrooms, yet they've done it with bureaucracies like the Department of Education. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say the federal government should have primary responsibility over the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, or the land that we farm. Yet that's exactly what we've seen with these onerous regulations from the EPA. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the federal government can borrow and spin this country into bankruptcy, yet they are hurtling us towards that every day. And nowhere in the Constitution does it say that the Washington bureaucracy should control 1/6 of our economy with a crazy scheme like Obamacare to tell us how to deliver health care. They've got to be stopped. History's already taught us what government-run health care looks like. It looks like these long lines and rationing in Britain. It's Canadians coming south to the United States so that they can get quality health care that they cannot get back home. And right here in our own country, it's the shameful and inexcusable conditions of our VA hospitals. You want to know what government-run health care looks like? Ask a veteran. When our federal government can't take care of our heroes, men and women who have fought and suffered for us, it would be absurd to think that Obamacare could ever take care of the needs of a regular, ordinary citizen. The federal government intrudes where it has no constitutional authority, and it often fails when it does have that authority. And you don't have to look any farther than the southern border of the United States. There can be no homeland security without border security. For years, we have had a serious security problem along our border with Mexico as a direct result of this administration's naive policies, poor enforcement, failed leadership. We're now faced with an unnecessary humanitarian crisis. And our hearts go out to those young children who are making these perilous journeys. They're often abused, misused, placed into recruitment by these drug cartels and gangs. And we got to do everything that we can to reunite them with their families back in their home countries, because it is the right thing to do. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of those that are crossing over the border illegally are adults, including criminals who pose a threat to public safety. This past weekend, an off-duty Border Patrol agent was shot and killed in front of his family in Willacy County while they were out on a fishing expedition. It turns out the two suspects are criminal aliens, one of whom has been arrested at least 4 times and deported multiple times. This violence will not stand. If Washington won't act to secure the border, as the governor of Texas, I will. That's why I ordered the 1,000 National Guard troops to stop the flow of illegal activity along the border. You see, too often Washington wants to treat the symptoms of a problem, not the root causes. The root cause of this tragedy in Texas is a border Washington refuses to secure. It's time for the federal government to live up to its constitutional mandate. This is a national problem. It comes under federal jurisdiction. Congress shouldn't be on a 5-week vacation. I can assure you the drug cartels and the gangs are not on vacation. It is time for Washington to solve the problem of our border security. You see, our strength as a nation has always been determined by the strength of our people, to know the difference between right and wrong, and to speak out when things need to change. When a federal government is either unwilling or incapable of doing its constitutional duty, it is time for a change. Not of the Constitution, as some would have us, but a change in those who are deliberately not upholding the Constitution. We need a federal government. We need a federal government that lives up to its responsibility. We need wise leaders who will take the most successful lessons from the state, implement them as best policies and practices. It's plain to see what needs to be done. It's common sense. We need to lower taxes. We need to reduce and simplify regulations. We need to cut spending, reduce borrowing, and balance the federal budget. That's what needs to occur. We need to create a comprehensive energy policy in this country and immediately build the Keystone Pipeline, put more resources in the hands of those that know how to develop them, and encourage a true all-of-the-above energy strategy. We need to put a health care plan back in the place of the hands of the people in the states, not in the hands of big government and one-size-fits-all bureaucracy. We need to secure the border and stop the illegal activities that are threatening the homeland security of our communities. We need to change the entitlement attitude to an opportunity attitude by installing proven conservative policies across the board. And all of that starts by electing a Republican Senate in 2014 and a Republican president in 2016. And to help win back the Senate this fall, I've formed a new PAC to win races from coast to coast. It's called Rick PAC. We need to elect Tom Cotton in Arkansas, Steve Daines in Montana, Tom Tillis in North Carolina, Ed Gillespie in Virginia, and Joni Ernst in Iowa. We need to get these done. We need to make America great again by electing the right leaders. We are an exceptional country. We have an exceptional Constitution. Our resources make us exceptional. Our freedoms make us exceptional. And as Americans, we must honor the dreams of our founders to continue to build a society that allows each and every one the opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My fellow conservatives, you have the power to unify the American people behind this agenda of opportunity and aspiration, of freedom, of innovation. You must speak out, though. You must share your belief in the values of the conservative vision with your friends, your family, with strangers, with anyone that crosses your path. Friends, you have the responsibility to stand in the gap for future generations to ensure that the world's last best hope for freedom remains vibrant and growing. The future of this nation is up to you. It belongs to you. You have the power to save America. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work. Let's make America once again that shining city on a hill. God bless you, and thank you for being here today. Thank you. It is in your hands, in your capable hands. Okay, Eric, I think we're going to open it up some Q&A at this particular point in time. Is that right?
Hello, Governor.
Who's got the mic?
Over here.
Back here.
Governor. Hello, Governor. I just wanted to mention, as you're inviting citizens of blue states to your state and to other red states because of how well they're being run, I think you might want to mention to them that it was their past voting habits that got their states into the trouble, and to please, as they change states, to change their voting habits as well.
Well done. Let me address that just a second, because I think it's important. As we, and governors and legislators, from my perspective, should be competitors, and to put policies into place to make their states more competitive. I mean, listen, if you want to live in a state that has very high onerous taxes and a regulatory climate that is onerous, and a legal system that allows for multiple trips to the courthouse, and schools that are being run by unions rather than by parents and the best interest of the skilled workforce that you need, you're free to live in California. But and one of the reasons you see those companies relocating, either lock, stock, and barrel, or any of the, and listen, California is a beautiful place. I mean, it is a beautiful place, incredible weather, great wine. I mean, they've got a lot of things going for them, but they've made it so onerous from the standpoint of being able to keep what you work for, that people are leaving that state. People can't move to that state in a mid-level management to be able to live there. And they have to have alternatives. And that's what Florida and Louisiana and Texas and these other red states are all about. They're making themselves be more competitive. What I will suggest is the people that leave out of those states to come to a place like Texas are givers. They're not takers, because they're relocating because they want to live where freedom reigns. And I think the idea that somehow or another they're going to come and bring the policies of those other states into a state like Texas and change the philosophical basis is not correct. And they're coming here because they respect and really like our policies, not because they want to come here and change this end of what they left. All right, yes, sir.
Governor, I'm from Pennsylvania, and pretty much we do exactly the opposite of whatever you do. And as a result, Pennsylvania is dying. We have, however, a Republican governor and a Republican General Assembly, but they are not exactly Rick Perry Republicans. And if someone like you should happen to run for president in Pennsylvania, I would say that the message that you delivered today would resonate. Pennsylvania has won. Ronald Reagan won Pennsylvania twice, and when Bush 41 ran as a Reagan Republican, he won. I think that a Rick Perry type or Rick Perry could probably win Pennsylvania with your message. However, beware the Pennsylvania Republican Party. If you're going to do it, or somebody like you's going to do it, run your own campaign independent of the Pennsylvania Republican Party.
Good advice.
I just have one question. We have a Marine sergeant sitting in prison in Mexico, and we have a president going to Martha's Vineyard on vacation to be with capitalists he doesn't like, and has done absolutely nothing for this poor man, and the Mexican government be damned. What in God's name could we do to get this man out?
We've actually been in contact with our counterparts in northern Baja, the state of northern Baja, and the governor, Governor Vega, he would, it's in a state jail, interestingly, but these are federal charges. And I would think that with the trade, with the proximity, with the relationship that we've historically had with Mexico, sometimes it's challenging, but that if the President of the United States and the President of Mexico were committed to bringing that young man home, it would have happened months ago. I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to speak to any specificity, but I know that the governor of northern Baja, were it left up to him, that Marine would be out of his jail. So this is a federal issue that, again, I think there is a failure of foreign policy out of this administration that we have seen time after time, whether it was in Libya, then we saw it exhibited in Egypt, we saw it, or we see it now in Israel, we saw it in Syria, we have seen it displayed in Ukraine, and now with ISIS attacking the population of northern Iraq. So we should not be surprised of the failure of leadership and of the decisive leadership that you would expect out of a president of the United States. Time after time, we have been reactive instead of proactive of dealing with these issues. Eric.
Thank you very much. Now, folks, some of you have gotten the riddle of what's not here that's always been here. Starting in Charleston, when Governor Perry first spoke to us and announced his presidential campaign in 2011, my friend and my in-laws next door neighbor, Steve Pinley, has covered the room in paintings. Now, you can appreciate this. He couldn't be here today because he's doing all of the artwork for the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. And they open in 3 weeks, and they're a little bit behind. But now, he told Brian Pruitt he was sending one thing, And he told me he was sending something else. We both knew we wanted to do something for Governor Perry. His last year in office, a dear friend of ours and of the site. And so we wanted to present you a Penley, and we both got a surprise this morning as to what we're giving you. So I hope you like it.
So everybody gets surprised at this.
Everybody
together.
gets surprised today. Governor Perry?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man.
So
Can we just leave it there and
you
let everybody
can
enjoy
leave
it?
it here and see it, and we can get it to you. And she wanted to do a picture of you. So.